let's go! Also, kindly reminding everybody that your Prime Gaming sub is for free and can be used for a good cause. Every donation matters, no matter how small it is. Wow, really doing my job for me. Last but not least, thanks to all the runners and the GDQ staff for the great work you're all doing. AGDQ 2023 hype! And now, it's time to wake from 100 years slumber and save the kingdom in a way that defies physics and scares the locals. Here is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Any % on Switch being run by Player 5. Take it away!
Hello, I'm Player 5, and I'll be speedrunning Breath of the Wild at any %. I've been running the game for around 2.5 years, so I'm excited to show it off today. With me, I've got two awesome commentators. If you'd like to introduce yourselves.
I'm The Real Noman, and I've been running this game since 2020.
And I'm Limcube. I've been running this game since 2019. Multiple categories, also any %. And I've also actually been commentating the any % run in 2019 in Summer Games Done Quick. Back then, the run was very different. So today you're going to see some completely new strats, some completely never before seen at a GDQ. Movement strategies and tricks. And yeah, before we start, maybe real quick, because we're going to have to explain a ton of different stuff. This run will be done in French. This is because French saves time from voice acting. It's not because of text. This is a question that usually comes up. French just has the fastest voice acting for us in this case. And it's also going to be on Switch on the most recent version of the game. Everything you see here will be possible on your Switch at home. And last but not least, this is an amiibo run. We'll talk about it more once the amiibos actually happen. But with that, Player 5 is ready. I think we can take it away.
Yeah. So timing will start on gaining control of Link. So I'll count that off when we get there. It's to remove any inconsistencies with this opening cutscene.
Yeah, but maybe as we watch this opening intro, Noman, you can kind of explain to us what has changed. Why is any % so different now? We can maybe lead with that because, again, we have a lot of different tricks to explain once we get to them.
Single category in Breath of the Wild. It's an insane trick that actually allows us to slide around and build speed in any direction. So
yep. This is true. We'll see that trick multiple times. One of the big advantages of that trick is that usually an any % speedrun in this game is kind of split up in two sections. At least that's what most runners think of. We think of the plateau section, the Great Plateau itself. To this day, we have still not found a way to actually skip the Great Plateau, which is kind of the tutorial section of the game. But in the any % speedrun, that's already half the run. We do the tutorial and we instantly go to the boss fight, to Hyrule Castle, beat the game. Now, the problem is that on the tutorial, the Great Plateau, we don't have access to the paraglider yet. So our movement options were always a little bit limited in terms of what we could do. We could already do some pretty crazy stuff, but the slide, the BLSS, basically allowed us to take the routing on the Great Plateau to a new level. And we'll see that soon. But with that out of the way, we're going to get the Sheikah Slate here. The run is about to begin. And as usual in Zelda games, we immediately start breaking the game. In this case, with the good old Shrine of Resurrection clip.
So SOR clip is a scope clip. By running at a certain angle and facing the camera at a different angle, you can actually scope, which forces Link to turn around and pops him out on the other side of the wall. Now, that was very well done by Player 5.
Yep.
And of course, Breath of the Wild is a game that has double-sided collision, so he did have to clip back in bounds.
Alrighty, chat. You know what time it is. It's technical difficulties. We're breaking the game. We're breaking the stream. It'll be okay. That just gives me time to catch up on all of the donations y'all are sending in, and the donation team, which bless them, are sending up to me. I cannot keep up with all of them, but we're going to try here. So here's $55 from Vague that says, good luck to player 5. Love to see it. Thank you for that. $25 from Cutie Cat 8734 that says, our 4-year-old loves watching us play Breath of the Wild. Can't wait to watch it fly by so fast with him. I really hope that your 4-year-old enjoys watching the shenanigans that come from the speedruns, because as a mid-20s something human being, it still fascinates me like a child, because I don't understand what's happening half the time, but it's fancy and it looks cool, and that's good enough for me if I'm completely honest. Here is $50 from Fergie141 that says, love GDQ, gotta donate during my favorite all-time game series, The Legend of Zelda. Good luck. $50 here from Elite Nerd 314 that says, excited for the Breath of the Wild run. I am super ready for Tears of the Kingdom, and watching this run just helps me keep getting more hype. Good luck to the runner. I am also super ready for Tears of the Kingdom, and I have been for a little while. And it does, like, they did the typical, like, we're gonna delay the Zelda game, because they always do it. They always do. And every time, for whatever reason, The Legend of Zelda is a series that I'm like, I don't hate when you delay this, because I know it's going to be fantastic. And for whatever reason, my hype level increased when the delay happened, because it was kind of that moment of, oh, the game is really coming. Like, it's going to be here as soon as that delay, because it doesn't make sense that way. Like, they delay it, but that's how I know it's real and it's almost there. And it's going to be great. Wow, $200 here from Mandaru that says, I see a Breath of the Wild run. I hit donate. Here's a pun for the chat. Oh, you're going to make me do this? Thank you, actually. Have you heard about the new Legend of Zelda gardening sim? You play at Link, the hero of time. And that's time spelled T-H-Y-M-E, just in case you didn't get that there. Thank you for the pun. I complain, but realistically speaking, I actually love them. I love puns. So thank you for that. And $200, you're very generous. Wow, huh? Okay, I am counting the twos correctly. This is a $2,222.22 donation from Ty Zibbit that says, Breath of the Wild is my favorite game of all time, so why not donate a bunch of twos and hype up Breath of the Wild 2 while we're at it? Thanks to all the fantastic runners, commentators, GDQ, and to the community for coming together to find time skips to stopping cancer. Wow. Hello. Huge, generous donation. Fantastic comment. Thank you so much for that. Wow. You are changing lives with a donation like that. Seriously. Wow. $1,000 donation from Eltheon22. More twos coming in. As a cancer survivor myself, the work that GDQ does to support these organizations makes me hope that less people will have to go through what I did. Good luck to all the runners. $1,000 donation. Thank you for that generosity, and I'm really happy to hear that you were a cancer survivor yourself. I'm really glad you pulled through, our friend. Thank you for being a part of this marathon. Thank you so much. I'm never going to stop saying thank you. Get used to it now, just so we're clear on that one. $100 donation from Alex Kelly that says, what's better than a week of speedrunning? A week of speedrunning that supports cancer prevention. It's the best time of year, folks. Let's kick day one off with a bang. $100 donation here from Devil Waits that says, been watching for years and making small donos when I can, but I'm finally able to give a bit more this year. Thanks for doing this year after year. Appreciate the dedication from all the runners and staff. Let's kick cancer's butt. All right, with that, I'm going to take a quick sip break. Thank you. That's your friendly reminder that hydration is really important, because reading all these donations will get to you. Wow, we're at 25. We've broken 25,000 already. I can't even keep up with y'all. We've broken 30,000. My stuff isn't refreshing fast enough. Thank you. Wow. Okay. Here's a reminder of all the bids you can put your donations to. This is something that when you're on the donation, the donation screen, the donation website, you do have to select these specifically. If I want to donate to Castlevania Symphony of the Night, upgrade to all bosses, you do at the bottom have to open the incentives tab and specifically select what you're putting your money towards. I need more water, apparently. Okay, speaking of, Well, speaking of, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, that upgrade to all bosses is at $8,670.66 of the 10,000 needed. Y'all are crushing it. We're going to be there in no time. And I have filled the air long enough. We're once again ready with Breath of the Wild. I don't want to take up any more of the airtime. Please take it. I need a drink.
Right. Hello again. Player 5, running Breath of the Wild. And again, got my commentators.
I'm the Real Noman. I've been running this game since 2020.
And I'm still Limcube, running the game since 2019. But yep, we got the technical difficulties out of the way. Everything still remains the same. The game is still being ran in French. This is still an 80% run using Amiibo, which are going to help us to go faster. We'll explain them later once we actually scan them. But with that being said, let's actually get into the run this time for real. Player 5, if you're ready, you can start.
Okay, and this time I'll count it off. Yeah, when we get closer to gaining control of Link.
Yep, again, Player 5 explained that earlier. There's actually multiple reasons I've heard recently why we start our timer when we gain control of Link. For some reason, the game actually starts loading some parts of the game in, even on the title screen. And basically, to make sure that everyone is on an even playing field, we just start the timer as soon as we gain control of Link. Player 5 is going to give us a countdown, but we already teased that this category has changed quite a bit since the last showing at AGDQ in 2019 because of the BLSS glitch. Maybe Norman can explain that one again as we wait for the countdown.
So BLSS is a trick found by Legend of Link on September 4th, 2021. It's a trick that lets you slide around and build speed without the paraglider.
Okay, we're getting to the... So, 3, 2, 1, go.
Let's go.
And
This
we're
time
off.
we're off for real. Again, we're going to have to get the Sheikah slate here. This is to open the door, which we are then basically going to ignore immediately. But we do need the Sheikah slate to perform the first clip that Player 5 in this previous attempt managed to immediately get. This is a scope clip that allows us to escape the Shrine of Resurrection. I can quickly explain why we actually do this glitch. This skips quite a few things. Normally there's a second door that you have to open before you even get to the big opening cutscene that everyone is kind of aware of, the big title cutscene. And then we also get to skip that. Also get this potlet, which is unironically one of the best shields in the game, especially for speedrunning, because all we need is a shield in general, get a weapon, and then we're going to be shield surfing towards the Temple of Time.
Link, dirige-toi vers le lieu que t'indique la carte de la tablette.
So coming up to the Temple of Time here, Player 5 is going to be doing something called a shield clip. He's going to be landing on his shield on the wall to set something called skew. And basically, skew is a glitch that lets you flick Link back at a certain angle when you shield flip and unequip. And this lets us clip through certain walls.
Okay, what's also important, and I did see the Bokoblin not super cooperating. There is actually a Bokoblin on the other side of the Temple of Time that you want to distract by whistling just before you come up to the section. Otherwise, he can make your life a little bit annoying. But we have to talk about the BLSS here. This is the new trick that basically allowed us to reroute the plateau entirely. So basically, by smuggling your bow and picking up an object that has some collision, you can use that object to push Link around. Player 5 is incredibly skilled at this glitch. I had the honor to see him perform this one live, because in order to actually get speed with this glitch, as he immediately shield clips into the bomb shrine, there's too much to talk about in this short time. But basically, this light glitch is super powerful. It allows us to move quickly without using the paraglider and safely. And we're going to be clipping in each of these shrines because it's faster. If we wanted to actually enter the shrines normally, we would have to activate the tower, which loses time.
Now player 5 is going to be collecting the bombs rune. The reason why we get bombs first is because it counts as an object that we can pick up over Link's head, which lets us slide around with BLSS. And another trick that we'll be seeing very, very soon is called a wind bomb. Player 5 is going to be doing this trick to skip basically every single inside of a shrine. By jumping and going into bullet time and placing both bombs behind him, he can detonate the first bomb and send the second bomb into Link and send himself flying.
All right, so this wind bomb in particular, player 5 is going to be attempting. Oh, unfortunate. Nice. At least this is where the chili comes in clutch. The attempt was obviously to skip the entire shrine there, but it's a very precise wind bomb that, to this day, with as much practice as you want, you cannot guarantee that you get the perfect angle, but that chili actually coming in clutch, making player 5 survive that fall, and still obviously much faster than going through the shrine normally. This trick in general is basically why we rerouted the Great Plateau using the slide glitch. Having this rune and this trick available to us in the other Great Plateau shrines is going to basically save time everywhere. It's just that in the past we had no efficient and quick way to the bombs shrine to do it first. Now with the slide we do. And this is what has basically changed on the Great Plateau. But with that being said, we have a pretty big cutscene coming up right here for the old man introducing himself to us. So if you do have some donations, this could be a time. We don't have much time in this run, honestly, but this could be a good window to read one.
Alrighty, then I have one that's been waiting for me. Casual Cheese here with a $50 donation that says, Yaha! You found me! Take this purple rupee! Thank you for that. I was waiting for the Korok references and it happened already.
Yeah, good stuff. There's going to be some more time, but it's just that this run is incredibly intense and there's so many glitches coming up so quickly that we don't have that many windows, but we will let you know when we have another one. But for now, we are going to be on our way to the next shrine, and you'll see the main idea for the Great Plateau is always the same. We use the BLSS glitch to slide somewhere and then get into a shrine to complete it. But this is the amiibo we talked about. So by scanning the amiibo, you get a random assortment of fish. This is actually looking like some pretty solid RNG. We only needed 2 amiibo scans here to get enough fish to cook an attack up elixir in Hyrule Castle later. This will allow us to defeat the bosses, essentially, that we have to defeat a lot quicker, and it's also quicker than getting different materials. So these amiibo actually end up saving time.
As player 5 pulls up to Bomb's Shrine, we'll see that he's setting skew again, and then once again he has to clip into the shrine. Every single shrine on the Great Plateau actually uses a different clip setup. That was very fast. That was very well done.
That was very well done. Magnesis is another case. This actually used to be one of the most boring shrines on the Great Plateau. Just based off the design, it's just a pretty long shrine where you can't do much. People always try to come up with cool strategies to go through the shrine faster, but now that we have the bombs rune, we have some new, basically, options to beat the shrine fast. We're going to be, as usual, doing another wind bomb, another tricky one, and this is actually the problem. You think with how powerful the wind bomb strategy is, we would have immediately used them everywhere, but on the Great Plateau specifically, without the paraglider, wind bombs are a lot worse than you think, because you have 3 hearts, you don't have the paraglider, you take a bunch of damage, so these wind bombs are hard, and they don't save as much time as you think, but this Magnesis one is pretty impressive.
Very nicely done. So this wind bomb here is called the canal wind bomb because you're wind bombing from below in the canal, and it's pretty precise because you have to just get the perfect launch that sends you straight over a wall, but not high enough to hit the ceiling.
Yeah, very impressive. And additionally, you have to basically land in the right spot to not take too much damage, like you said, because you only have 3 HP. This is a good showcase as to why wind bombs are very limited. But if you get them right, they are super powerful. But like I explained, the idea is always going to be the same. And just to explain this again, you can't leave the Great Plateau without completing each of the shrines on the Great Plateau. What the game actually does, it's not even checking for your spirit orbs. It checks for a flag of how many shrines you have completed. And if you have 4 completed shrines, you get the paraglider and you get to leave. The problem is what people always think is it's not like there's a barrier around the Great Plateau that you can like clip through or get through. It's basically that the entire game is considered a zone that you can't be in until you get the paraglider. So Great Plateau skip a little bit more intricate than you'd think and might be something that will never happen. So all we can do is optimize doing these shrines as fast as possible. As player 5 is getting up to stasis, we are actually going to be using a wind bomb outside of a shrine here. This one, very impressive, very nicely done. You need just enough height to basically get up to the stasis shrine. And then again, we're going to be clipping in.
As Lim explained earlier, this is going to be a pretty uniform run. Every single split on the Great Plateau is essentially a slide to the next shrine and then a wind bomb inside. So again, we're going to be seeing another really precise wind bomb coming up inside the stasis shrine that lets us skip running through half of the shrine.
Yeah, and it's funny because stasis used to be the most powerful rune force, especially in the early game and even for longer categories. The previous plateau route, the one that we've basically seen at the last GDQ, was made that way that we could get stasis first. Because stasis was powerful, it allowed us to launch around. The route was routed around doing stasis first and using that rune to our advantage. But now that bombs are so much more powerful, stasis we just kind of get whenever it's optimal, and then we'll use the bombs rune here instead. Let's see. Wind bomb coming up. Getting nice height. And player 5 is just incredibly consistent at getting these nice angles. Very, very nicely done.
Yeah, and one other thing is, even though we don't technically need all of the runes, or at least the use of all of the runes, we still have to grab them.
That's a really
the monk
good point.
will not let you complete the shrine without it.
That's right. If you try to finish the shrine without the rune, the monk will just send you back, and you cannot finish it. Actually, a good rune to talk about is the one you're going to be getting next, Cryonis, which is one that we basically don't use at all, but we're still going to have to grab it anyway. We also will perform another one of these stasis launches I just teased. This was very much our most used movement tech back in the day. It just happens to be ideal for this specific part of the run, this boulder. Well, technically it's not ideal. Technically you can use a wind bomb here, which is just very precise and potentially dangerous. But this works just fine. And we're going to be using this tree stump here to set up another slide and slide our way to Cryonis, where we then will be clipping in again. But this is a little bit of a different clip. Maybe Norman can explain this a little bit more in detail.
So player 5 is going to be doing something called an extended shield clip. He's going to be setting skew on a little snow mound, giving himself a very tiny skew. And then he's going to start the shield clip, but on a very specific frame. He's going to hold A and re-equip the shield. That lets him get a little bit further. It lets him get through a little bit thicker walls.
Very, very nice. This is probably also a good point to talk about player 5 in general. I kind of just have to mention how dominant player 5 has been over this category in, I mean, I don't even know for how long. Basically, ever since the castle reroute times, player 5 has been on top, with some small exceptions, really pushing the game to its absolute limits. So this is always a treat to watch somebody this good at the gameplay. Now, Cryonis, again, is basically useless. If I'm not wrong, we literally don't use it a single time in the run. That's right. Right?
Yeah, there's no
that's
time
right.
we ever use Cryonis.
We don't even use it in the shrine anymore. Unfortunate angle here from the wind bomb. The idea is to basically bounce off the wall and then land up where the monk is. That can happen though. It's probably still faster to attempt it a second time. We actually had a pretty cool strategy with Cryonis in the shrine before, but this is obviously still faster and we're never gonna be using that rune again. Now this might be another good time for a donation. We'll probably get like one or two, maybe we get two in here because we're just gonna be finishing the shrine and go to the Temple of Time to pick up our glider.
Alrighty, let's aim for 2. Here's $25 from Senor Tapir that says, "Good luck, Mr. 5. I know you're going to slay this run, and it was a blast hanging out with you and the commentators and everyone else last year's GDQ in person, and I can't wait for the next one."
Thank you, Tapir.
There it is. Then I also have a $50 donation here from CyberBotX that says, "Super excited for AGDQ 2023. Best Of luck to all the runners for the entire week. It'll be a blast. Let's help add more content to the marathon by getting Symphony of the Night upgraded to all bosses, and I can confirm Symphony of the Night upgrade to all bosses has been met.
Good stuff, guys. That's exciting. Yeah, perfect timing. We are going to be sliding to the Temple of Time now. Also, shoutouts to Tapir. We are going to be sliding to the Temple of Time now, where we will get our paraglider. And then when we get the paraglider, we are free to go wherever we want, which for us, in any percent, means we are going to beat the game. Basically going to go straight to Hyrule Castle and challenge the bosses. We didn't get to talk about this fall damage cancel yet, which player 5 did at the very end. They're actually also intentionally throwing away that spear. In Hyrule Castle, we are going to collect some weapons, much stronger weapons that actually allow us to beat the game. There's a specific text message that shows up once you've reached a certain amount of weapons, and it also basically makes it so that he has his hands free to be able to pick up a strong weapon right away when he gets to Hyrule Castle. But what this trick does is it basically, you throw a weapon away, mix up or change your inventory to reset the position the game thinks Link started falling from, and you basically take no fall damage even though you don't have the paraglider. It's only used here and at the very start, but it still has its uses.
Now, player 5 is going to be sliding all the way to the castle, and he's going to be going to a very specific entrance on the left side. So any percent was completely rerouted, and even before BLSS, the castle route actually got completely rerouted by Lim. And now he's going to be going to a completely different entrance than the last time. He's going to be going to a very specific gate, and we're going to be hoping that it's going to be unloaded.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is one of the few sections of RNG, at least as far as we know. In the game, player 5 is going to be looking up here a little bit also to avoid some potential slowdowns. You actually go too fast for the game here to keep up. We can see that here. The game just stops sometimes trying to basically have the overworld catch up with you. But if everything goes well, Hyrule Castle is pretty bad at loading. Player 5 should hopefully be able to... Yeah, what? Wait, what happened there?
He's... the dungeon map is up.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why, but this is very, very well done. Very smart. Very smart. So basically, what happened there is that the dungeon map of Hyrule Castle immediately loaded in, which is something that rarely happens, which means the second player 5 touched the ground, this cutscene would play. So he made sure to already glide past that potential gate before touching the ground to make sure that the gate wouldn't load in, because it's basically a guarantee that if he touched the ground before the gate and this cutscene would have played, the gate would have been there. And yeah, this is very weird. So this happens sometimes. You see this very long black screen right there. So for some reason, the game prioritized playing the cutscene and then ended up with a huge long load. But let's get into getting some weapons.
So player 5 is going to be going around collecting as many strong weapons as he can to get through the blights. And each of these weapons were used in very specific ways to get through the blights with specific durability and routing, because each of the weapons actually break after a certain number of hits.
Yeah, definitely a mechanic that many people casually disliked. We are actually going to partially use that to our advantage. There's a mechanic that not everyone is aware of, but when your weapon breaks, it does double damage, and even small details like that are going to be important for us. The damage for these boss fights is very calculated, and it also uses this attack up meal in the calculation. But this will help us to deal more damage. We are not done with glitching around, though. This is the same clip you've seen earlier in the Shrine of Resurrection, a scope clip, allowing us to go out of bounds, mid-air wind bombing out of bounds in the castle section, landing on top of this corridor, and then wind bombing again to reach Zelda's study. Another section in the game. Okay, a little bit too low there. Basically, Zelda's study here has some more powerful items for us, especially a very powerful bow. Player 5 is just going to be gliding back because you need exactly enough height to land in a specific section to clip back and bounce.
I'd just like to mention that the castle reroute happened because we wanted to grab ancient arrows. So earlier in this castle, player 5 picked up a chest of 3 ancient arrows, which are really powerful and really useful for defeating Calamity Ganon very quickly at the end of the run.
Right, so Zelda Study is a pretty interesting section as well. We basically distract this moblin, sneak strike him because he hasn't seen us yet, pick up the Edge of Duality, another powerful 50 damage claymore. Here you can see player 5 basically menuing back and forth in the shield inventory to force the game to load the overworld back in, because we want this Royal Guards Claymore, which we are soon going to be using for a pretty big skip. But first we got to get there, another wind bump to take us up to the Sanctum, where we'll be fighting the bosses. Now, if you don't play the game normally and you haven't beaten the Divine Beasts, you are going to have to deal with the Blights, basically the small bosses that are at the end of each Divine Beast. You have to beat them all, and because you fight them in Hyrule Castle, they all have 2000 HP, so they're a little bit more difficult to beat. But Player 5 just did a very specific setup called Windblight Skip, where ideally he shoots an arrow in the arena, then enters at a specific timing, so the arrow is essentially stuck in the air, which will now constantly deal damage to Windblight, and ideally we're going to see him start shaking a little bit here. Very nice. He gets the Windblade skip, so essentially that arrow dealt damage to Windblade over and over again, so now Player 5 only has to beat 3 Blights overall. Next up, Water Blight.
You're going to notice that Player 5 only has 7 arrows, 3 Ancient Arrows, 1 bow, and 4 weapons, and that's all he's going to need thanks to the attack up to get through these 4 bosses, Calamity Ganon and Dark Beast Ganon.
Yep. Which is incredible. It's mainly thanks to the way multipliers work in this game. Having Ancient Arrows, attack up level 3, being able to use headshots, which in this game are technically overpowered. You literally deal double damage, then you get 50% more damage from the attack up modifier. You get 50 damage on each Ancient Arrow. You'll see. But yeah, these Blights, like I said, have 2000 HP. Okay, unfortunately not getting that headshot there on Water Blight. This is a very annoying fight to do quickly because his animations are essentially based on how much damage you do to him. If you do too much damage to him too quickly, he gets up early and you can't kill him as quickly as you want. But managed to still make it work pretty well. Fire Blight, I'd say at least in phase 1, is one of the easier bosses. There's a specific strategy that Player 5 does where he basically gets hits on Fire Blight's main body and hand. You could kind of see a little bit of a hit there to basically spin to win even quicker.
So the second phase of Fireblight actually has a little bit of RNG that can happen. Hopefully this doesn't happen, but sometimes Fireblight can actually get up a little bit early, and that'll cause us to lose about 8 to 10 seconds.
Yeah, this can be very frustrating, especially this late into the run, but this is looking good so far. The positioning here really matters, and ideally Player 5 is able to get that last hit in very nice. One cycle Fireblight phase 2 is something you want to see. Now, you may have seen that the boomerang that Player 5 has used previously is still on the ground, which is actually going to be something that we'll use to our advantage here. By doing specific spin attacks here to Thunderblight Ganon, you can use the Claymore hit, like I mentioned earlier. The break of the Claymore does double damage, and now Player 5 has no weapon in the hands, can just walk up to the boomerang and then immediately equips the boomerang. You can basically skip menuing this way, because we're going to be using that weapon here at the beginning of Thunderblight Phase 2.
Player 5 had to end Phase 1 of Thunderblight very specifically to get Phase 2 to actually work properly. We're going to see here after he knocks down Thunderblight, he's going to do 4 hits and it's going to break Thunderblight's shield and it's going to stun him. And that's going to let us smoothly finish off Phase 2 of Thunderblight.
Very nicely done. It doesn't get boring. Thunderblight for many players, casually one of the biggest nightmares, and being able to destroy him completely in a speedrun just feels good. But now it's time for Calamity Ganon, and it doesn't matter how strong we are, Calamity Ganon is always scary. We are essentially on 1 health, we have very limited equipment, so everything here has to go well. These strategies include intentional laser parries, specific spin attacks, getting as many headshots as possible. So let's see how that goes. If you do everything correctly here, though, you can at least limit the RNG a little bit. And this is something that has happened to many players many times. Essentially, the laser hitting the wall behind you, which then causes an explosion, and the AoE of that laser shot doing exactly that 1 heart of damage, which is very unfortunate because this game is unforgiving in the sense that if something does happen in Calamity Ganon, you get set back to the beginning of the Blights, and you essentially have to beat the Blights again. Now, thankfully, it was at the beginning of Calamity Ganon, so the Blights can be defeated quickly again. But we have to make sure to get Windblight Skip again. At this point of the run, Windblight Skip is not only like a nice, convenient strategy that saves some time. the entire weapon routing is basically made around this skip working. If you don't get the skip, you won't have enough attack power to beat the game, but player 5 gets it again. Very nice. Wind Blight already done. Only 3 more Blights again. This allows us to explain a little bit more about the combat mechanics in the game. So one thing that we abuse a lot is the power of two-hand weapons. You can see on the main body of Water Blight, there's 2 hit markers on every single spin. Something that you can do in this game is called double hits. If you do a spin attack and you face your back to the target you're hitting, you can get 2 hits per rotation. In this case, you get 2 hits on the main body and a hit on the arm, essentially getting 3 hits per spin, 50 base damage on the weapon, attack up means 75 damage, 3 times 75 damage per spin. That's the power of a two-hand weapon in this game, even if they feel clunky casually.
Once again, there's some pretty bad RNG happening right there. Water Blight, he randomly got up early. That early get up that we talked about with Fire Blight, that's very common. But actually, any of the Blights can actually get up early.
Yep. And sometimes we know why, and sometimes we don't. It's strange. Thunderblight is another good example who at the start, and I think I talked to you about this, Norman, at the start sometimes he just rises up, and I don't think any of us really know why, unless this is explained these days.
I have a theory quite recently that I was looking through an old clip, and I noticed that sometimes at the end of Fireblight Phase 2, you'll see Thunderblight loads in before the cutscene.
Right. Oh, true. I've seen that before.
So the current theory actually is that because the Blight loads in early, he moves out of the way early at the start of the fight.
I see. That would make sense. Let's hope it doesn't happen here, as we're going to be trying to kill the second phase of Fireblight in 1 rotation again. If everything goes well here, we do have the additional advantage of being at 3 health this time. There is something in this game, at least in the normal mode, called one-shot protection, where the game essentially protects you from being completely overwhelmed by making you take less damage on 3 hearts. This doesn't apply to every single attack, especially about Calamity Ganon. He sometimes ignores that one-shot protection with specific attacks, like the laser direct hit. But for other hits, it can be a saving grace.
So after we get through Thunderblight, we're going to be going back to Calamity Ganon. And something new about the Calamity Ganon fight that we've pretty recently figured out is the attacks that Calamity does in the second phase. We always used to think that they were RNG. But we recently discovered that if you complete the first phase properly and quick enough, you will actually always get a laser on phase 2 of Calamity here.
Right, and that's going to be important. You need to parry the laser in the second phase of Calamity to break his shield. Once the shield is broken, the fight is completely in our control, and we can essentially stun lock Calamity for the rest of the fight. But we do have to get that laser in the first place, so being able to get that is good. But again, we do need to play essentially perfectly in the first phase here to even get to the second phase in time. The main idea here is to do a ton of headshots, then intentionally go for a laser parry here, which player 5 managed to do perfectly. Go for a spin hit with the Royal Guard's Claymore, which does a ton of damage. You can see the health basically melting. And then last but not least, throwing the Claymore against Calamity, dealing even more damage, using the Ancient Arrows at the very end here, and perfectly done. Completely, basically controlling Calamity Ganon through the duration of the phase. We do get a laser.
And he gets that instant laser.
Very nice parry.
So the next trick that player 5 is going to be doing here is called the stun lock. As long as he times his slam at the perfect time, Calamity is going to completely get stunned, and he's going to lose his shield repeatedly over and over and over again. This is going to let us get through phase 2 and completely melt Calamity.
Yeah, one advanced strategy player 5 even opts to do an additional hit every time as basically Calamity Ganon regenerates his shield, maximizing the damage output completely. Very nice hits here during every single phase. And with this last spin, player 5 should be able to finish up the fight. And even with one small hiccup, still manages to absolutely destroy the bosses here. And then we got Dark Beast, not necessarily the most exciting part of the run. It might be nice to celebrate this run though with maybe 1 or 2 donations, as player 5 is basically just going to be trying to get these shots on the weak points as fast as possible.
Alrighty, celebrate we shall. Here is a $300 donation from KOF that says, donating during my all-time favorite game in appreciation of this event and this cause. Thank you so much to GDQ, Prevent Cancer Foundation, and all of the volunteers. We, the viewers, see how hard you all work to be inclusive, enthusiastic, and a positive force in the world. Best of luck to Player 5 and all of the runners for a wonderful event.
We can do one more.
And if I could... Oh, absolutely. Sneaking this in then. $100 here from Crazy AZ and Litbooks that says, good luck, Player 5, on the run. You're an amazing runner and friend. Shout out to everyone in the Breath of the Wild community for being so welcoming and supportive. Love you all.
Agreed. Well, so as planned, Player 5, maybe you can give us some words. We got some additional time for charity there with the intentional death. But how did you think did the run go?
Really. So these shots are, we could pre-fire the arrows.
Oh, nice. You got
using the music. So I was just listening in. But yeah, not as smooth as I was hoping. Death and Calamity is not what we're looking for, but overall, it is a pretty tough run.
It definitely is. Just with the nature of it. Also, if you're practicing these boss fights, it can be pretty frustrating to constantly get sent back to the beginning of the Blights. But trust me, that practice doesn't hurt. Doing the Blights multiple times as much as it might get annoying. That being said, though, I think it's very safe to say, at least in my opinion, I've checked out multiple speed games. At this point, this speed run has some of the best and most high quality resources I've ever seen in any community. If you're interested, as we're coming up on time, by the way, on the final shot here of the eye, check out the speedrun.com tab and the speedrunning server. Very welcoming community.
In time.
Nicely done.
GG. Very well done.
Yeah, so thank you everybody in the Breath of the Wild speedrunning community for being so welcoming and helpful. I wouldn't be here without them. Huge shout outs to my commentators. Did a fantastic job. I was focusing on the run almost the whole time. And then thank you to AGDQ for having me on.